So this is about the environment where creative pursuits can take place. And I'm sure if you're watching this video and you've done any brainstorming before, most people's experience is that bold ideas are more likely to emerge when you're not in the office. So the 101 message here is get out of the mothership. It can be so easy just to default to booking an internal meeting room to run a workshop, but it's no more difficult in most settings, even to get out of the building and go to the local coffee shop, because the power of the status quo tractor beam inside the office is huge and often goes unnoticed. So just a change of scene can really help. But again, involve your team. Ask them what kind of surroundings are most likely to make you feel creative, and experiment. Try out a few different options. There's a lot of research out there that shows that being amongst nature actually provokes more creative ideas than any other environment. And that's free, or largely free, depending on where you are. So and even if you can't spend the whole brainstorm in another physical location, send people out for a walk for the first 20 or 30 minutes and let their minds wander in different directions. And crucially, make sure that their phones are on flight mode, because it's too easy to get distracted. Another tip is to do this, send people out for a walk a little later in the session, but this time in pairs. So everybody takes a shortlisted idea, and they take it with them to discuss it and come back with feedback and further ideas to develop the idea further. It's a good way to dig deeper into a few ideas in a restricted time frame, because generally trying to discuss all of the ideas together in a group setting can just take too long, and then you're triggering the unhelpful group dynamics again. So building on this idea, one of the main themes in this section of Be Less Zombie is that of creating something that gets called rehearsal space. Now in the book I distinguish between two sets of space. One is performance space, and that is today. It's running the business, where we want operational excellence. We can't really afford for many mistakes, and actually there really shouldn't be any, because we understand today's business model, the ways of working really well. So certainty, predictability are key. But what generally we're going to need more of, if we are looking for bolder ideas, is more rehearsal space. And rehearsal space is experimenting with new ideas. Mistakes are more likely to happen, and freedom to fail is really necessary for people to feel confident to propose and try out bolder ideas. Now, in this context, space doesn't necessarily refer to physical space, although it can. It's more about the mindset that's needed for certain kinds of ideas to show up and develop. Now, generally, organizations need more rehearsal space for bolder ideas to emerge. And it's the idea that we feel psychologically safe to take risks, to propose something, to try something that is aligned with our why and our what, our missions and strategy, but may not be completely aligned with our how things get done today. So focusing on progress insights that we looked at in Module 3 and applying the principle of dream big, start small can be helpful here. And we're going to look more at that in Module 6. But the rule of thumb here is to have a team conversation about the rules that are going to be most helpful in your own rehearsal space. So design your own rehearsal space. What will need to be true for people to show up and be comfortable proposing and then pursuing bold ideas? And therefore, what do we need to do to give people the confidence to do that? So design your own rules, come up with your own creativity manifesto. When we are in this setting, when we are pursuing these kind of ideas, this is how we do it. This is how we show up for one another. This is how we support one another. And actually committing to those things and writing them down and getting them out on the table might feel a bit contrived to begin with, but if you're serious about creativity, you need to get into the habit of deliberately setting that scene so that people know, okay, this is a rehearsal space gig. This is what we're pursuing. We need to have a different set of rules here, rather than those where we're looking for ideas where really there's very little scope for failure in the performance zone.